So today you all are aware of what we're doing. We're going to talk to Jonathan Packer, the new guy, as you all, I'm sure, know. I would say, while we're talking, I'm going to talk to Jonathan about himself and, ask him some questions. I mean, we all know that Jonathan can do the job. He would not have been hired. But I want you all, he's got some cool background and his life has been an interesting life. So I want you all to get to hear that side of the guy. Now, I'm sure you'll have questions for him while we're talking. Please add those to chat, and then we'll leave some time at the end for going through those. But I just kind of wanted to spend some time starting out talking about the process. And I know you've all heard this 1,000 times, but I'll run through it in case some of you haven't. The board decided to set up a committee of internal people. A lot of companies and firms and organizations will hire an outside search firm to go and find them a new leader. And we said, you know what, that's not how we do it in New Braunfels. We want to have people from New Braunfels who are stakeholders in this whole process lead that process. And we want to have a person chosen for us by us being New Braunfels in the chamber. So we tapped Lily America, who's up here in Square 3, to lead that process. And she was amazing at it. I know she hates me to say that, but you were amazing at it, Lily. Thank you for doing that. There was a committee chosen. I'll read the names off. And I hope that I'm reading these because I want you all to understand the people who were on this committee were leaders in the community who have a vested interest in helping our chamber and our community be the best it can possibly be. So I'll read these names off. And as always, if you see these people around, please do thank them for their hard work and in picking this guy. All right, Kobe Macy, DC Bell, Joe Casieja, Danny Hensley, Alice Jewell, Neil Lennox, Douglas Miller, Randy Muchagimba, I would say it wrong, Rita Power, Ron Reeves, Chris Snyder, and Tiffany Sechting. That was a committee that took this process from 179 resumes to 14 to 3. And then they passed those 3 up to the executive committee for interviews, and we unanimously picked Jonathan Packer. So that's the background of how we got to where we are. You started officially last Tuesday was your first day in the office. Yes. So a little over a week. Yep. And you're still here. That's good. Alice has been here monitoring. So for now, he's still here.
Nathan, I don't know if everybody knew that, but Jonathan was the first person to reach out to ask about this job. So that's just an interesting tidbit.
Jennifer, can you mute Lilia, please? That was her.
I'm done.
Thank you, Lilia. That's actually a very good point. That's interesting to have done that way. So yeah, that's cool. So let's get into a little bit about Jonathan. And oh, by the way, we are drinking coffee. This is from Two Rivers Coffee. Thank you, Two Rivers, for their coffee. This is delicious. And the roaster of this coffee happens to be under with us today, too. So cheers to Two Rivers Coffee. All right. So one thing I learned about Jonathan and you in your past, it's an interesting past. So tell about where you were born, your parents, that whole thing is pretty cool.
Yeah, so this will be cliff notes a little bit, but happy to go into more detail. My dad's from Dallas, my mom's from Shreveport, family throughout Texas, and they were missionaries. So when I was 1, I moved to the Philippines, and for about 8 years I lived in the Philippines. I lived in Austin for a little bit, and then I moved to Singapore for middle school and high school. So my dad was the pastor of the International Baptist Church in Singapore. And then I went to Georgia Tech, and I've been working throughout Texas my entire career. So I married a girl from Tyler, beyond the pine curtain.
You would say she's the Rosa Tyler instead of someone else, right?
She was actually in that competition, the Rose Parade. She was a teenager.
Wow, cool.
But yeah, so yeah, I've worked in East Texas. I worked in Killeen for a while. I've worked in Austin, and now I'm here in Braunfels.
How do you feel like living in the Philippines and Singapore has shaped you as a person?
I think, well, let me give a two-part answer. First, I think I find that, it gives you the ability to get used to places and people really quick. having parents who were missionaries, I was always attached to, like, there was always a purpose to being someplace. And in my career working for chambers, it's the same thing. So having that, like the ability to quickly embrace the community, get to know them, but also like be right attached to the mission, like this chamber and all the work it does, and just be day one invested in it. That combo is pretty special.
Agreed. Jonathan and I were laughing with, we commiserated on both of us being preachers' kids. And it's true that, my dad was Church of Christ preacher, so we're just a little bit right at the Baptists. And he was kind of on the fringes. And so we moved a lot because you could say how you did things out of order. You took communion before the sermon instead of after the sermon or whatever. And they kicked us along. So you do learn to be adapt to your new environments because you do move a lot in that industry. So it makes me laugh. But I see your thing on that. Despite being a preacher's kid, neither of us have been arrested, just for the record, because there's those things that come up. Do you speak a lot of languages, having lived in places? So
when I lived in the Philippines, the Philippines speaks more than one language. So I lived in multiple parts. So I was fluent in Cebuano when I was like 3 through 6 years old. But then I moved to the other part of the country, and I had a year in Shreveport in between. So Shreveport killed me. I no longer spoke Cebuano by the time I spent 9 to 12 months in Shreveport. So then I went back to the Philippines, and it was a different language. So other than that, I took high school Spanish and 1 semester of Mandarin in college.
Oh wow, is that pretty hard to learn?
And I did not do well. That's probably my worst grade in college.
So you got a B.
Yes.
Yes. All right. So you talk about your family and your wife. Tell us. I don't know who knows about your family situation, kids and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mentioned my wife, Elizabeth. I call her Bo, and she's from Tyler. Her whole entire family is from Tyler. I joke with her that she doesn't have a family tree; it's a family bush. It's so ingrained in East Texas. But I have a lot of family up there too. So that's Elizabeth. I can't wait for everybody to meet her, and those that have will definitely be grateful they did. And then we have 1 daughter. She's 16. Her name's Ada, so she'll be a junior in high school.
So I've heard that Ada could possibly play volleyball or basketball well.
Ada plays basketball.
She's not short.
She's not short. Her belly button is the same height as mine, and I'm almost 6'2". So
can she reject your basketball shots?
She can, because I think my current vertical leap is about 4 inches.
Okay, well done. So as you get older, you be careful of that, because I can attest to that. Are they excited to come here?
Yeah, they are. They're real excited. Both of them for different reasons, but we're trying to close on the house. We can get here as quick as we can.
You'll be in the new Braunfels ISD.
Yeah.
So what does Ada think of being a unicorn? I don't know what her mascot was previously.
She was a Trojan.
A Trojan. So Trojans to unicorns. What does she think of that mascot? Just out of curiosity.
She's 100% for it. She thinks it's an upgrade. In fact, is anybody going to imagine being a teenager and moving? You're going to have mixed emotions occasionally, but she's always been 100% for being a unicorn.
I'm good with that. You're moving from Austin. We all know that. What excites you about coming down here to New Braunfels? We're not a small city, but we're not some gigantic metro like Austin. What are your thoughts on the whole thing?
Well, I've lived in big cities. I've lived in villages in the jungle. I've lived in East Texas. I've lived in Killeen. I've lived in a lot of places, and so maybe I look at it a little differently than maybe the standard, like how big your community is and all of that. And when I look at New Braunfels, I see just a phenomenal place. For me, what's really interesting in just my little time spent with people so far is that living and working is in balance here. And in a lot of places, your life and your work life are just completely separate things. And what I see here is that people live through work in New Braunfels more than anywhere I've ever seen. And to be working at a chamber, where that's true, it's just awesome. So that's what I'm excited about.
We took Jonathan on a night float. What were your thoughts on that?
So similar to Ada's thoughts on the unicorns, I'm supportive. So I had a good time.
Yeah, night floats. If you all haven't done that, I would suggest that it's a glorious time. You've been here a week. What do you talked about the work-life balance? What's your initial thoughts on our town beyond that? Like town, not so much business community, but what do you think about the Braunfels?
Things that jump out right away. It's community pride, heritage, alignment of just how much people believe in this place. It's you mentioned that it's not a metro area, but there's no sacrifices to be made here. There's amazing amenities, wonderful restaurants, fun stuff to do. But one thing I've noticed is just the culture of volunteerism, and the culture of volunteerism, even at a young age. And that creates stable institutions like the chamber, where you just got years of many people being involved. And then, for me, the opportunity, the professional opportunity, the opportunity this city has, the organization has for success, that's really impressive. And then just how much fun everything is. I mean, I think that's generally one of the most important things, from the staff to the volunteers to just the community in general, just how much fun everything can be on its best days. It's really awesome.
I'm going to throw an unscripted question in here to you, but it's fun for me to ask this kind of thing. What's your favorite kind of food?
My favorite kind of food?
Yeah.
Anything spicy. I grew up in Southeast Asia, Singapore specifically, very spicy food. My wife is actually an alien life form. She can handle spice. Like I enter in a competition for anybody in the audience who thinks they're better at spice. She's amazing. So that's generally where we gravitate. I do about a dozen crawfish bowls a year. We cook a lot, but anything. I love meat, so that is something that appealed to me about New Braunfels. So
We have meat here.
plenty of meat, but no, that's. So I don't think I would zoom in on any specific like type of Korean or something like that. But we love to eat. And really up for anything.
Talk a little bit, if you would. We'll shift gears a little bit to career stuff. What is your skill set that you're bringing here?
So I'm gonna have to ask you to repeat this question. We have a very informed comment.
I'm impressed with this.
So Singapore pepper crabs are good, but I prefer chili crab. So when you eat crab in Singapore, you get generally two different options. One is black pepper and one is chili. And if you Google image chili crab or black pepper crab, you can see it. It's very impressive. So
Who's MBTX gal again? I forget. Is it Heidi? Heidi,
It's Heidi. It's Heidi.
You've had Singapore pepper crab?
Jonathan's going to be jealous. I had pepper crabs about a month ago. My dad lived in Singapore and he makes chili crabs and pepper crabs like no other.
So when are you going to invite me to dinner? That sounds phenomenal.
All right. You got to come to Galveston with me one weekend. With your family. Sorry.
Let's get that out there. So tell me again about what a Singapore pepper crab is.
So in Singapore, they do crabs that boil it live, or they don't boil it. They I think they fry it. But anyways, so it's live crab and just black pepper, and you break it apart at the table, the whole crab.
Wow. Used to the chili ones are different than this.
Yeah, so the chili is more of a sauce, and they give you these deep fried buns, and you dip them in the chili.
Oh, that's not good.
And both are very spicy.
Sounds amazing. I guess I was asking you about, skill set. What do you consider your skills?
I think I'm creative but process driven. So that's keeping those two things in balance, right? What's a new idea we haven't thought of, but also how do we process this out so we're not just creating chaos? I have a strong technology background, but I also enjoy the people side of this business probably more than anything. So yeah, those are my strengths, I think.
You have a kind of tech background too.
A little bit.
Yeah.
So early in my career, I did a lot of freelancing for web development. And during my career, my different stops, I've definitely had technology roles. At the Austin Chamber, I led a big digital transformation project where we just kind of reinvested in all the technology we use to be more effective. And so it's unusual in the chamber world to kind of have that dual.
Yeah, I reckon. You talked about being process driven. What does that look like?
Well, I think it's more than just if this then that, right? Like, and you don't want to, from a process perspective, over process things. So we're just, what do I do next? Do this. But everybody being on the same page. When you're in a team environment, you're often like, how does the work I do fit into the work somebody else does? How does it fit into the bigger picture? Just being diligent about making sure everybody's on the same page. But like the search committee did a wonderful job of that process, just keeping everybody informed. I felt informed the entire time. When I heard you describe it, it feels the same way. So that's kind of my process.
Gotcha. Another question is, what kind of music do you listen to?
So, yeah, it's always hard to answer this. Let me just share my favorite bands.
Okay.
I love The Replacements.
Okay.
It's probably my #1 band of all time.
And you can tell King of the Hill, but the Replacements did that.
I don't think so.
Listen,
That's a good song. That's funny. What was that? Somebody put it in the chat, whatever that was, the Hank Hill song. No, The Replacements are a Minneapolis band from, I guess, the 90s or maybe late 80s too. So I love rock. I love good country. And so
you like old school country?
yes.
Bob Wills and all that?
Yeah.
That's
Lately, my wife and I have been listening to just tons of Texas tornadoes. That's kind of our summertime vibe.
They're pretty good. I interrupted you. You talked about Replacements. What other best favorite bands do you have?
Well, maybe go to Axe. I love Jeff Buckley, Elliott Smith, and all those people a lot.
Cool. That works. What questions from the audience? Are there some? Coker, was it the Replacements? Did they do the Malcolm in the Middle song?
Freshmans.
Oh, the Replacements. Okay, I was close. I was so close. What questions have you guys got for Jonathan? Otherwise, I guess I'll ask some more. The lively crowd. Let's talk about. While people are typing, let me ask you another question. Then is a year from now, if we had you back in a year from now, what do you want people to say? Like, how was your first year? What do you think it's going to be like?
I guess more than anything, well, maybe that I'm almost as awesome as my wife. That'd be a first step.
She must be watching.
She's not, but maybe I'll show it to her later. That I'm a friend, that I'm a value add to the community, that the chamber is not lowering its expectations for itself in this community, that it's just same, everything we've expected from this organization is continuing in the future. And that I'm a part of it, that I'm open, I'm willing to talk to anybody, and just a part of the solution.
What do you think? I mean, this is, but you know New Braunfels by now. You've been here before. You blah blah blah. What do you think some of our challenges are in our town? From I said it, but you're moving here.
Yeah.
So what do you think we have challenges at here?
Well, and there's a similar question I see in the chat from Jim. What do you think is the biggest challenge facing the chamber? So maybe I'll roll those two together.
Yeah, do it.
New Braunfels is dealing with a lot of similar things to other communities, especially in Texas. But if you look at the data, New Braunfels is dealing with it in a higher dose. So the impact of growth.
Yeah.
The impact of inflation, real estate, cost of living. I was on a call earlier today talking about kind of the effect that COVID's had on just like how companies choose to locate their facilities, how manufacturing is doing. And so I think we're in just a period of hyper change we're in a world where information is at your fingertips, but agreement is not always easy to find. And once again, to be redundant, but New Braunfels, from a growth perspective, is dealing with a heavier dose than almost any other place. And so that's probably the biggest challenge, is just having a solid approach to that, how you talk about it, how you plan for it, what role the chamber plays in making that a positive force for the community and not something that's really frustrating. And I can say that's the biggest challenge. On the operational side, with the world changing as much as it has, especially with the effect of the internet, how people belong and gather. So chamber historically is just a place people go to meet each other. That's something that's very impressive about New Braunfels, is just half the volume with that. And there was a Blue Coats mixer here last night, amazing turnout. That's very special in New Braunfels. But as the digital age creeps in, how you connect people to the mission of the chamber and make sure you don't lose that when there's so much competition and so much other options out there.
Yeah,
which is really important.
Yeah, it makes sense. You talked about challenges you see for us in the chamber. What about opportunities? I mean, growth, sure, there's challenges, but also it's not a bad thing to me. So how does that affect the community like us, you think, as we grow?
Well, I mean, growth and change are opportunities, because you need movement to improve, right? Like, if you're in a community where those factors are stagnant, this is a completely different conversation, right? You're trying to turn the other way and flip the script. And in New Braunfels, with all that comes a huge opportunity to do it the right way. You're not sacrificing the heritage. You're not sacrificing who you are. You're making sure that is the center. And with all this opportunity, you've got a chance to just be what you always have been, but to improve, to refine, and just to grow in a great way.
I agree with you. I think that everybody here would agree that people, and you mentioned it already, that people take ownership of the town. So maintenance of culture and heritage figures into that. It's keeping that core of who we are. All right, Cheryl says, what role do you see arts and culture playing in the economic vitality of the community?
Well, let me answer that question by maybe talking about the inverse, which is where that doesn't exist. And what you find, right, arts and culture in New Braunfels, we can make the list, and we can run through all the amenities. But it creates a place people want to live. And trying to create it when you don't have it is really difficult. And people know when it's authentic. They know it when they see it. And in today's world, people choose where they live first. And these amenities are just vital to that. And if you don't have a community where people want to live, if you don't take seriously making sure those amenities continue to grow and that community supports them, you're going to economically suffer. And so having that, continuing to reinvest in it is vital.
Yeah, and arts and culture to me is kind of a wide swath. But I think that on all fronts, New Braunfels has representation in that, especially museums. We have such rich history here, and arts plays into that too. I think that there's a huge future for us on that. What other questions have you guys got out in the audience? If there's not any more, I'm gonna open it to you, Jonathan, to speak to the crowd about yourself, and we'll wrap it up.
Well, thanks, Nathan, and thanks everybody. I see, I've only been here for, what is Alice? This is day 8, something like that. And I already see so many familiar faces. I mean, it's been a bit of a whirlwind just meeting everybody, but meeting everybody continuously really helps with remembering names and faces. So just thank you from on behalf of my family for being so kind to me, for having patience when I might have difficulty placing where we met the last time. And yes, Chris is right. I did agree to do a dunking booth. Yes, but here's what I'd like to say is just But first of all, once again, thank you for the warm welcome. But also, I'm always willing to chat with anybody. The chamber staff will work with anybody to address opportunities and problems in the same way we've always done. Come see me, call me. I'm happy to chat and looking forward to just getting awesome work done.
Well, that's to wrap it up. Thank you all for being here. Like Jonathan said, he's always available to talk to you, listen to you, and all that. There's one message just came in. Can you scroll? Oh, welcome, Jonathan. Welcome, Jonathan.
Thanks, everybody.
You all have a great day. Thanks for being here. We'll do this again next time. Take care of yourselves. Cheers.